Welcome to the Deep Dive. So today we are tackling an absolute giant, a real intellectual sculpture from the ancient world Aristotle.
And we're trying to do something, well, something pretty ambitious.
We are. We're not here to just, admire his logic or get lost in his biology. Our mission is to cut right to the heart of his practical philosophy, his blueprint for what he called eudaimonia.
The good life, the highest human good.
Exactly.
And that's really the most vital part of his work for us today. I mean, the man was an encyclopedist, he mapped everything, but his moral system, which you find mostly in the Nicomachean Ethics, that's the real treasure.
It's like finding the original user manual for living a worthwhile life. And he starts with a question that seems simple, but is incredibly deep.
What is the one thing we all want for its own sake and never for the sake of anything else?
Right. What's the final goal? Let's unpack that. And I think we have to start with the man himself. His background really matters here.
It absolutely does. His method came directly from his life. Aristotle came from a family of physicians, so he grew up steeped in, empirical science, observation.
Not just abstract ideas, but looking at the real world.
Exactly. Data collection, physical investigation, that's what fueled his obsession with biology and the natural world.
And then he spends 20 years at Plato's Academy. I mean, can you imagine? 20 years learning from Plato.
It's an incredible apprenticeship. But you can see in his work that he eventually got, a little restless with Plato's focus on those abstract, perfect forms.
He wanted to study this world. The messy one.
The one we actually live in, yeah. And after he left the academy, he took on a tutoring job that, it changed history, teaching a young Alexander the Great.
Now, this relationship gets romanticized a lot, but the reality was a bit messy, right?
Very messy. Alexander was, let's say, not the most attentive student. Aristotle tried to convince him that Greeks were naturally superior to everyone else.
Which Alexander then completely ignored as he built his multicultural empire.
Completely.
Yeah.
But even if their personal relationship was tense, it gave Aristotle an unbelievable asset for his own work later on.
When he goes back to Athens and founds his own school, the Lyceum.
In 335 BC, and this is where Alexander, now emperor, really comes through for him, he provides massive funding.
And the Lyceum wasn't just a few scholars under a tree. This was a real institution.
Oh, it was a revolution in education. It had classrooms, a huge library for the time, maybe 500 manuscripts, map collections, a natural history museum.
Wow.
But here's the real aha moment. Alexander issued an order, a command to all hunters, fishers, and officials across the entire empire.
To do what?
To report any scientifically interesting observations directly back to Aristotle for his museum.
Wait, hold on. So Alexander basically ordered the entire imperial machine to start collecting lab specimens for his old teacher.
That's exactly it. It's like having a national intelligence agency working on your biology homework. It gave him this unprecedented empirical base for his work.
That's incredible. And that structure, that institution, it even shaped how he taught.
It did. His surviving works are basically lecture notes from two different kinds of classes.
Right. There were the morning sessions, the achromatic lectures.
That was the advanced stuff. The graduate seminar, logic, physics, metaphysics, for a small group of his best students.
And then in the afternoon or evening.
You had the exoteric lectures, open to a wider audience, more practical subjects like rhetoric, politics, and, for our purposes, ethics.
Which makes sense. More people need to know how to be a good citizen than how to, debate the nature of being.
Unfortunately, that amazing period came to a pretty predictable, tragic end. After Alexander died, the political winds in Athens shifted.
Anti-Macedonian sentiment.
Exactly. So they trumped up a charge of impiety against Aristotle. He had to flee.
And he famously said he did it to prevent the Athenians from committing a second crime against philosophy.
A direct reference to Socrates. He died a year later from an illness, but his intellectual system was already built.
Look, it's the blueprint for the modern university.
It is. He saw that different subjects need different methods. You can't study poetry the same way you study math. So he sorted all knowledge into three big buckets.
Okay, what are they?
First, you have the theoretical sciences. The goal here is just knowledge for its own sake. Theoria.
Just knowing things.
Right. Things that can't be otherwise. Math. Natural science, where you're looking for the unchanging laws behind all the change. Theology.
Okay, so that's the knowing bucket. What's next?
The practical sciences. Praxis. This is about acting. The goal here is knowledge that guides your actions. This is where ethics and politics live.
Because human behavior can be otherwise. we make choices.
Precisely. And finally, the poetic or productive sciences. Poiesis. This is about making, using knowledge to create something, whether it's a statue or a persuasive speech.
And the really big insight here is that the standards of proof are different for each one.
That's the key takeaway. You can't demand mathematical certainty from a politician.
Or apply a moral standard to a physics equation.
Exactly. If I say 2 + 2 = 4, that's always true. But if I say you should always tell the truth, well, that's generally true. But there are situations where it might be the wrong thing to do. The standard has to be more flexible.
Which brings us right back to ethics and our main question: what is the highest good?
So Aristotle says, look, every action we take aims at some good. The highest good has to be the one we want purely for itself. And that, he says, is happiness.
But he uses that Greek word, eudaimonia.
Right, which isn't just about feeling cheerful. It's more like flourishing or living well. And it has to be self-sufficient. It's the end of the line. You don't want it to get something else.
And this is where everyone gets confused, right? We all say we want to be happy, but we can't agree on what it is.
That's the problem. If you're sick, you say it's health. If you're poor, you say it's wealth. He says we need an objective definition.
So how does he find it?
He asks, what is the unique function of a human being? It can't be just staying alive. Plants do that. It can't be having senses. Animals do that.
It has to be the thing only we can do. Reason.
Exactly. So the function of man is the activity of the soul that involves reason.
So like, a good knife's function is to cut well. A good human's function is to reason well.
Perfect. And from that, he builds his final definition. Happiness is the activity of the soul in accordance with complete virtue throughout a complete life.
Okay, that is a dense sentence. Let's pull it apart. Why an activity, not a state of being?
Because happiness isn't passive. It's not something you get like a gift. It's something you do constantly through your actions.
And a complete life. What does that part mean?
It's a bit grim, but he's basically saying you can't really call someone happy until their life is over. One swallow doesn't make a summer, and one good day doesn't make a happy life. You have to see the whole story.
That makes sense. And he also says you need some external goods. Like, it's hard to be virtuous if you're starving.
Absolutely. Good luck and happiness aren't the same thing, but you need some basic tools, friends, a little money, political stability, to be able to perform virtuous actions.
So how do we get these virtues? Are we just born with them?
Not at all. He says character virtues are acquired through habit. The Greek word is ethos. You become just by doing just things over and over.
You practice being good.
You practice. Just like a builder gets good at building houses by actually building them, not by reading a book about it.
And this practice leads us to his most famous idea, the golden mean.
Right. Virtue is a state of character concerned with choice that lies in a mean relative to us.
Okay, relative to us is the important part there. It's not just moderation in all things.
No, it's not a simple mathematical average. It's the right amount for you in your situation. The amount of food a heavyweight boxer needs is way different from the amount I need. The mean is different for each of us.
Can you give us another example?
Sure, let's take generosity. The excess, the extreme, is being wasteful, prodigal.
Just throwing your money away?
Right. The deficiency is stinginess, hoarding everything. Now, for a billionaire, giving away $10,000 might be the mean. For someone,
And the real test is how you feel about it.
that's the final piece. The truly virtuous person doesn't just do the right thing grudgingly. They take pleasure in it. They find the generous act to be beautiful in itself. We have to train our feelings, not just our actions.
Okay, so that's character. But finding that mean, that takes some intelligence.
It does. It requires an intellectual virtue. And he separates them into two types. There's wisdom, or Sophia, which is about understanding the big eternal truths of the universe.
The theoretical stuff.
And then there's practical wisdom, phrenesis.
That sounds like street smarts.
It's the ultimate moral street smarts. It's knowing what to do right here, right now, in this specific situation. Your character gives you the right goal, like be courageous, but your phrenesis tells you what courage looks like on this battlefield against this enemy.
They need each other.
They're a team. You can't be good without both.
And this focus on action in the world leads right into justice, which is the big social virtue. How did he break that down?
He saw two main kinds of justice in a society. First, there's distributive justice. This is about how you share out the good stuff, honors, money, resources, and he says it has to be proportional.
Proportional to what?
Well, that's the problem. He says every political system defines merit differently. A democracy might say it should be equal for all citizens. An oligarchy might say the wealthy deserve more because they contribute more.
So the definition of justice depends on your politics.
Exactly. Then you have the second kind, corrective justice. This is arithmetic. It's about fixing imbalances in private deals, whether it's a contract or a crime.
And here, it doesn't matter who you are.
Doesn't matter at all. If a good person steals from a bad person, the judge's job is just to restore the balance. Take the gain from the thief and give it back to the victim. It's about restoring a mathematical equality.
But laws are general and life is specific. He has a solution for that, right? Equity.
Yes, equity. He says it's actually better than legal justice because a law is, by nature, a generalization. It can't possibly cover every weird specific situation that might come up.
So is equity just? Letting a judge ignore the law?
It's not about ignoring it, it's about correcting it. The person applying equity should judge the situation the way the original lawmaker would have judged it, if they could have foreseen that specific unusual case. It's about fulfilling the law's true intent.
That makes sense. It's a patch for the law's blind spots. Okay, so we have this whole blueprint for the good life. But we all know people who know what's right and still do the wrong thing. The problem of self-control.
Incontinence, yeah. This is where he has to challenge his old master, Plato, or at least Socrates, who said, no one willingly does wrong.
Right, the idea that if you truly know the good, you'll do it.
Aristotle sort of agrees. He says, true, complete knowledge can't be overpowered, but he says we can fail to use our knowledge in the moment.
So you have the knowledge, but you don't apply it.
Exactly. He says the incontinent person acts as if they are drunk or asleep or mad. The passion of the moment, the desire, temporarily blocks the connection between the general rule in your head, like eating too much cake is bad, and the specific fact in front of you, this is a piece of cake.
The knowledge gets short-circuited by desire.
Yes. And he makes a really sharp distinction between different kinds of failure here, between failing because of bodily desire and failing because of anger.
Which one is worse?
Failing because of desire is worse. Because desire, he says, doesn't listen to reason at all. It just drags you along. Anger, on the other hand, anger at least tries to listen.
What do you mean?
Anger hears reason say something like, this is an insult, and it rushes to action without getting the full story. It misinterprets the data, but it's still trying to respond to a perceived wrong.
So it's like a bad servant who hears half an order and runs off to do the wrong thing.
That's his exact analogy. Desire doesn't even bother to listen for the order in the first place.
That is such a subtle but powerful psychological insight. Okay, so to sum up, the good life is this sustained, virtuous activity built on good habits and guided by practical wisdom.
That's the practical, political life, the good life among other people. But there's one last twist, a final tension.
Which is?
We have to go back to that other intellectual virtue, theoretical wisdom. Yeah.
The knowledge of unchanging, eternal things.
Right. And while he says we are social and political animals, he also suggests that the life lived according to pure reason and contemplation. Well, that might be the most happy, most self-sufficient life of all.
Because it's the life that's most like the life of the gods.
Precisely.
So after all this work on how to be a good citizen, a good friend, a good person in the city, he seems to suggest that maybe the best life is actually getting away from all that.
And that's the ultimate provocative thought for you to think about. Is this whole ethical system just preparation for the good life? Or is the ultimate destination something else entirely? A life of pure thought, contemplating the universe, which transcends all the messiness of human affairs.
The life of philosophy itself. What an incredible blueprint, and what a final puzzle to leave us with. Thank you for walking us through it.